Welcome to the Friday vlog.
Welcome to the Friday vlog.
And today we're going to be talking about commitment. And I wish this was something that I had seen much earlier in our relationship, because I think it would have avoided a whole bunch of suffering for us.
Decades of suffering.
Yes, unfortunately. But for me...
It's your fault.
Okay, I'll take the rap. What I thought was important was to focus on the fit. And then once you got the fit right, then you could commit. And so even though we were married, I was still working on getting the fit right before I could really fully commit.
So I was kind of like a really uncomfortable pair of shoes that you liked in the window, and you thought that when you put them on, you're going to look really good. Maybe this is not a great analogy, but I'll run with it anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know if you can get these. In the old days, you could get these devices that you'd stick in your
shoes.
A shoe stretcher. So in a sense, that's what you were trying to do with me. You'd stretch the shoe so it was a fit.
Yes, I was molding you to fit my comfort level.
So it's not that you found the perfect fit.
No.
And we got married.
No.
You thought you'd do a bit of shoe stretching and then things would be okay.
Yes.
Despite the fact it took 20 years of shoe stretching.
Well, no, it wasn't.
We got there in the end.
It wasn't the stretching.
So I'm like an old pair of slippers now.
No, the whole point is that all of that trying to get the right fit was looking in completely the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And that the more I focused on whether or not we were a good fit, the less inclined I was to feel committed in the relationship.
Yeah.
And that actually by not being fully committed in the relationship, it made it much harder to work things out. And I think we suffered more as a result of that. And then when I saw more clearly for myself that my suffering wasn't coming from you, and then it was coming from my own identification with my, misunderstandings and painful thinking, then I stopped focusing on trying to stretch you, putting you on the rack,
yes,
and started realizing it's not coming from you, that's coming from inside of me. So I relaxed on that front, was able to be 2 feet in the relationship, fully committed, and then all of a sudden it's so much easier to work things out.
Yeah, and I think in retrospect, I realized that that when that shoe suddenly started to feel like it was fitting for you, when you were 2 feet in, I think that a whole bunch of pressure probably began to evaporate for me, because I'm sure that I was feeling that. I'm sure I was feeling the fact that you weren't 2 feet in probably made me show up in a very defended way that probably created a back and forth that was probably quite contentious, and I'm sure that fueled the fire. So I think by virtue of the fact that you had this realization, you kind of got an understanding of how the mind works and operates, and realized that I'm not responsible for providing you with your state of well-being. When you saw that, then you were able to commit. And I think in that commitment, things significantly changed. It was a defining moment for sure. When was that? 2014? Is that the date?
What is the year?
Yeah. And we've been married a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I wish I'd seen it sooner, because I see now that if I had not been so focused on the fit and getting that right, if I just realized, hey, I can be all in, then the things that were so difficult or looked like were so difficult to make work would have been so much easier to figure out, because the state of the relationship wouldn't have been kept being brought up into question the whole time.
Yeah.
And that was really stressful.
So you weren't living your life in all-out fantasy. I could have those moments of an extreme low mood in those days where I'd have my all-out fantasy, meaning that I wasn't all in, and perhaps fantasized about
I see what you're talking about.
Moving out. But yours was more of a constant.
Yes.
Yeah. So mine was more contingent on a sudden low mood attack, a storm front coming in. Yours was kind of like, he's not really changing in any significant kind of way that can make me feel compelled to stay in this relationship.
Well, I thought the fit needed to be better in order for me to feel safe.
Right.
And so I was, again, not consciously thinking this through, but I can see looking back that in my mind I thought, well, once that's right, then I'm going to be able to feel safe enough to be in this relationship and to be all in this relationship. And because I kept looking outside of myself for that feeling of safety, it never arrived.
Right.
And so I was never all in, and then we suffered a lot because I wasn't all in.
Right. Well, thank goodness you looked within. Finally.
A very slow learner.
Well, you were introduced to this understanding. I guess prior to that, you wouldn't be described as a conscious competent on that front. An unconscious competent.
No, I would say incompetent.
Incompetent, yeah. But you know, well, we got there in the end.
I was an unconscious incompetent. I guess that's what's important. And why we're sharing this now is that I think people tend to look for fit and focus on the fit in a relationship. Is my partner ticking all of the boxes? Am I dating someone that checks all of the boxes? And really focusing in that direction, you're probably never going to get anybody that ticks all those boxes. And the boxes that aren't ticked are so much easier to work out if you choose to be committed in a relationship. And I really see that more as a choice. And not that everybody needs to be committed, not that everybody needs to be in a relationship, but if you are in a relationship and you're wanting to really enjoy it, that commitment piece is a huge game changer.
It is. It is. You got to pull up the drawbridge. In fact, destroy the bridge and land on solid ground and stay there.
And keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward, yeah.
All right, well, have a great weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend.